I've flown to the US to lock in my order and build the spec for a brand new supercar. In fact, it will be the fastest supercar that I have ever owned. My collection has featured some seriously rapid cars, from Ferraris and McLarens to even my Zenvo, and I've driven plenty of them on racetracks, plus going over 200 miles per hour, but this one beats them all. When this new car came out, I knew it needed to happen. There's just one problem. It is seriously hard to get an allocation, and they don't even sell them in Europe at all. So welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina, and the brand new Tenths Motor Club, where we're going out on track and there's a ton of action at the Heritage Invitational. Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the US. Welcome to a brand new Shmeemobile. I'm excited about this. When you think about performance cars, you think about speed, and petrol heads will unite in understanding that sense of occasion, the thrill and excitement, the adrenaline rush of driving fast. The latest and greatest supercars are developed to offer the ultimate in performance, to maximize engineering, to make the most capable machine possible. And I've been lucky to drive some of the fastest cars on our planet, some of which feature or have previously featured in my own personal car collection. Take, for example, the Mercedes-AMG GT Black Series. It was the previous lap record holder at the famous Green Hell in Germany, the Nürburgring Nordschleife. I've driven plenty a lap with mine and even pushed it on the de-restricted German Autobahn to speeds in excess of its claimed top speed of 202 miles per hour. It's travelled with me around the world, to the Middle East, to driving mountain passes in Ras Al Khaimah, to laps of Yas Marina, the Formula One Grand Prix circuit in Abu Dhabi. I took it for an enormous road trip around America, covering 32 different states, over 14,000 miles of driving coast to coast and back again. The most powerful car I own is my Zenvo TSRS. When running on E85, it boasts a ridiculous 1,360 brake horsepower, 1 megawatt of power. It only matches the top speed of the GT Black Series at 202 miles an hour, and I've driven it close to that out on a runway, thanks to the centripetal rear wing, which offers immense downforce, often the enemy of drag, reducing your top speed, hence the limit. The McLaren 675 LT Spider, the more hardcore version of the 650S that came before it, has a top speed of 203 miles per hour. Sitting slightly taller than its coupe sibling, it's slightly slower as a result. But the most extreme McLaren I owned was my Senna. Top speed again limited at 208 miles per hour, thanks to massive amounts of aero. Very much a car at home on the track, very much the enemy to cars driving extremely quickly. Faster still though, my Ferrari SF90 Stradale, 211 miles per hour, and we've been very close to that, again on the de-restricted Autobahns in Germany on multiple different occasions, plus also driving on the Nürburgring and pushing it, as I have done as well with the fastest car that I own, my Ford GT, claiming a top speed of 216 miles per hour. Again, I've taken the car around the world, from driving at Circuit of the Americas in Texas to driving again at the Nürburgring in Germany. It's a car always about the ultimate in feeling. It was developed for the racetrack. It's developed to go fast, as all of these cars actually do. What is a supercar? Well, we're about to head out on track with the McLarens right here at Tenths Motor Club to go and discover this newly built circuit. But a supercar is about the performance, the opportunity to experience the latest in engineering. It's about the sound and the sense of occasion that it brings with it. It's about the community around the cars and the different events, places like this, where we are today. And if you've got petrol running through your veins, you will know exactly what I mean by this. It's something that you can't escape from. So let's go out and experience what it's all about. All right, here we are with Graham.
How's it going, Shmee?
It's good.
Good to see you.
Good to be here. Good to learn a little bit about Tenths Motor Club.
Yes, we're gonna teach you all about it and show you a couple of laps.
And nothing other than a new Artura Spider. Talk to me about this then. We're next to the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yes.
Like, how did this come together? What happened here?
Okay, so Rick Hendrick wanted a road course to test product years ago. Also, here we go. And so my grandfather, Bruton, and him agreed that they would build a road course between Hendrick Motorsports, just down the road, and Charlotte Motor Speedway. And then the idea for the Roval, our road course oval hybrid, was brought to the table, thus delaying the need for a road course and setting this project back like 10 years. Eventually, when we decided to do the project, Rick wanted to partner with us on it and found out that my dad was the reason he didn't get his original road course. So now Mr. Hendrick has a big red button that he can press that says, "Get off the track, it's my turn." But here we are, a partnership between friends, and then you end up with a 1.8 mile Alex Wurz designed beautiful club track.
I tell you my first impressions, there's a lot of undulation.
Lots of
There's a lot of blind corners.
Absolutely.
Is it like, it feels almost like Nürburgring inspired?
Yes, there's Alex likes to get inspiration from all of his favorite tracks, a lot of which he's designed. So we end up with crazy tight chicanes like this one here.
Super blind on the entry.
Absolutely.
For the second. I gotta say, by the way, this thing is ballistically fast.
Absolutely. My first time in an Artura today, and I have to say I absolutely love it. I don't want to give it back.
It's something McLaren know how to do exceptionally well, is build a car that you take to a racetrack like this and you can throw it around. But this corner we're coming down to now,
oh yes,
this is the big one.
This is the one. So the story on this corner was that when we first put it in, the banking was actually significantly steeper. And Jeff Gordon, NASCAR champion Jeff Gordon, showed up, took a lap on the track while it was still dirt in like a recreational vehicle and said, "You're going to kill people." So we had to take some banking out.
You do not want to fly off the outside, but I tell you what, it's a technical, challenging course.
Absolutely.
Beautiful tarmac. Now that was pretty quick, and props to Graham for talking while driving. That is no easy feat. Now, cars like this have an abundance of speed, and in fact the fastest I've ever driven in the United States was actually with my Shelby GT500. We took it to a dry lake bed in Utah with my friend the Stradman, and actually reached the limiter of that car at 183 miles per hour. What's perhaps crazy about this is the car that I'm going to show you guys later goes significantly quicker. Now, I've also driven on the Autobahn plenty of times, including in the oldest car that I've owned from new, my McLaren 675 LT Spider, to the VMAX, where the numbers were just creeping up, one at a time, to 324 kilometers an hour. That's 201 miles per hour, the absolute limit of what that car could do. My AMG GT Black Series, I've actually driven even quicker at 205 miles an hour. That thing probably has a little bit more if it wasn't on the electronic limiter at that top speed. But for me, there's an adrenaline buzz that comes from driving fast on a racetrack, on the Autobahn, wherever it may be. Welcome to the Tenths Clubhouse. We've got the track outline up above, exactly where we have been driving, but I want to show you through this place because it's been built in record time. Literally, they started breaking ground about half a year ago and already fully operational. There are some racing simulators set up, lots of people having fun with those. There's the whole eating area, dining at the moment. We just had a bite of lunch as well. But I want to come all the way through, past the tables and the crowd here, to show you out on the terrace, because this is no ordinary little terrace setup. Come on through, come and take a look at what's happening out here. We've got all sorts of action up on the screens and displays, but come this way because look at this, blinded, absolutely blinded. There's a roof SCR just over there, which is very nice, and obviously the big event is actually the next day, but we've literally got the circuit here. It snakes all around. This is where we drove, down towards the banking corner that you can see at the very bottom. Sun is blazing on us, and we've got the sounds of cars driving around in the background. In fact, something coming by right now, you can be that close. Listen to that. As you probably know, I like my American cars. In particular, I like keeping cars out here in the United States. We've done this many times in the past. In fact, my Shelby GT500 I bought, kept in Florida. We drove all the way across the country, the Where's Shmee USA tour. We also took it on the Gumball 3000 from Toronto down to Miami. More recently, in 2023, I purchased my Mustang Dark Horse, naturally aspirated V8, manual gearbox, and somehow we drove it 4,000 miles in the first week on our way to SEMA in Las Vegas, and it's gone on to do 15,000 miles already. A car I keep on a continent I don't even live on. Of course, one of the flagship cars from my collection is my Ford GT. I think when the Ford GT launched, get this, over a decade ago, it was the American supercar. It was the coolest thing, and for me, it often still is. But there's something else. There is a brand I have often alluded to, and a model of car I have spoken about on many occasions over the last decade, but I've never owned one. And that's where this is leading us.
The Corvette. Now, the first time I drove a Corvette was the C7 Z06, jumping in at the deep end during a visit to France to attend the 24 Hours of Le Mans and taking it out for a test drive on some of the local roads. Now, this was my first time going to one of the most famous motorsports events in the world, and I was joining the Chevrolet and Corvette team for a look behind the scenes at their participation. Now, those of you who know your 24 Hour of Le Mans history will know that in 2015, against all of the odds, Corvette were victorious in the GTE Pro category, and the excitement was incomparable. The feeling of being there truly spectacular. I then later on got behind the wheel of the C7 Grand Sport, which integrated some of the elements of the Z06 into the Stingray to add another option in the lineup, before heading to Bahrain to drive the ZR1, the flagship of the C7 front-engined generation, boasting over 750 brake horsepower, before it was time for the introduction of the C8 mid-engined Corvette Stingray. I went to the blimp hangar in Tustin, California. It was a nightmare travel to get there and back, same day to Los Angeles from New York, but nonetheless to see for a first look ever at the new C8, a huge chapter for Corvette history, and then later to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where the convertible, the second body style, was launched as well. It wasn't long after until it was time to get behind the wheel in Las Vegas, the global media drive of the C8 generation Corvette, to be truly impressed by the Corvette Stingray in its initial form, driving on road, but also getting to push it hard on track as well. I met up with Amelia Hartford to jump shotgun in her 1,000 horsepower Corvette C8, pushing the boundaries with them at the time, especially with the limitations that were available in terms of modifications. Before also, we had the launch of the E-Ray, the hybridized Corvette, during a special presentation held at the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, California. Then most recently, with my friend Eddie X, driving in his Z06, the C8 Z06, and the first time I had driven it, and a car, I have to be honest, I got out of with a very positive impression of what a powerful Corvette would be like.
Well, you might be able to guess where this is going. The car is right here. The car that I'm incredibly excited to announce is on order. A future Shmeemobile, the fastest Shmeemobile I will ever have owned. You've guessed it. It's this, the new Corvette ZR1, or of course in America, the ZR1, capable of 233 miles per hour. Having been at that original launch of the C8 generation, the mid-engined Corvette, this is the flagship. It's a huge thanks to Hendrick Motorsports for the opportunity to take a look at this car, the very car that crossed the block at the Barrett-Jackson auction, selling for $3.7 million for charity. The EX car that will be superseded by chassis 001, joining the famous Corvette collection of Rick Hendrick. But this is 1,064 horsepower. There's a 5.5 litre twin turbocharged V8 back there. It features the ZTK or the ZTK package with the large carbon fibre spoiler. There's lots to talk about in terms of the options. It's going to be my first Corvette. The Corvette is such an icon of performance sports cars. The ZR1 is the flagship, the halo model, and it's coming to the Shmeemobiles.
So before we come to take a better look around this car and talk about the different options that are available, and then of course head to the configuration suite to build up the spec for the future Shmeemobile, I need to hear your thoughts on the different options we're looking at. Let's check out what else is going on here.
What's happening right now is they've got the Trans Am cars racing out on the circuit. Listen to the sound of these things. The V8's roaring around the circuit. The old school American race cars out in force. Just endless roars. I mean, wait for this trio to get up here right now. Look at these guys, seriously competitive as well. Oh my days. You can't beat an engine sound like that, can you? It's amazing to think how much historic motorsport, I was going to say, plays a role in the road cars. If it wasn't for the history of racing, for Chevy, for all of the American brands, we wouldn't have cars like the Corvette ZR1 now. It's because of this stuff, it's because of the past, it's because of the legendary Corvette Grand Sports, it's because of all of that. Motorsports connects to the road cars that we love. I talk about this all the time on the channel. And you know, the first time I ever went to Le Mans was with Corvette, and they won it that year. To experience that 24-hour race, to experience the team's excitement and everything around it was just phenomenal, and something I felt so connected to for so many years. You might remember when the C8 was originally introduced, I talked extensively about adding one to the collection, then the convertible, thought about that as well. And then here we are now watching these guys. Here in the Heritage Invitational on the day that I can reveal to you guys the ZR1 coming to the garage. Back to this, the future Shmeemobile, a ZR1 for me, the 233 mile per hour capable C8 generation Corvette. Now there is a little bit of a caveat I should mention. If you order the ZR1 with the ZTK package, all of the extra aero and carbon, for example, you get these extra lips at the front, you get the gurney that goes in front of the radiators, and the enormous spoiler at the rear. Of course, that gives you more downforce for driving on a track, which we will certainly be doing in the future, but it also creates a little bit more drag, so it won't be able to match the 233 miles per hour. You need to order it without. But what amazes me is that this car starts in its 1LZ base trim, the coupe like this, at $175,000. It's still technically a convertible because you have the carbon fiber Targa panel on the top that you can stow away. About 10,000 more gets you into the folding hardtop convertible. But one of the things I love about the coupe styling is this. The split window design at the back, the link to the 1963 Corvettes, the most collectible of them all, and you can have it painted through the center as well, depending on the different colors, and we will talk more about the specifications later. So you can upgrade from the 1LZ trim up to the 3LZ trim. You can add lots of carbon fiber, lots of bright and exotic colors, different stripes, different wheels. In fact, over the black paint on this, we've got the edge blue stripes. I think it looks fantastic with the stripes, and it also has the wheels to match with that, a few different options when it comes to those. You can upgrade to the carbon fiber wheels, we'll get to that a little bit later on as well, but to think that the C8 arrived and it had this V8 engine in an era where basically those didn't really exist anymore. In fact, at the time it was introduced, there were no other naturally aspirated V8 mid-engined supercars, sports cars, whatever you'd like to call it, on the market full stop. Then the Z06 and the memories of driving that, then take it and stick even more power into it, even more than the E-Ray, and yes, there are talks of what might happen in the future, but it is a huge thanks to the team here at Hendrick Motorsports for pulling this out, because to be able to look around it right now and to be able to introduce you to this car, the first time I've really spent significant time being able to check it out. I had seen one at the SEMA show only a few months ago and didn't really talk too much about it, was certainly thinking about it, but it was sitting kind of not under perfect lighting, and I tell you what, it's insane. It's incredible to think the performance this is going to offer, and I am very excited about it. I'm going to take a seat inside this, the first time that I have ever sat in a ZR1, but a few things to point out. One, on the coupe, you have these additional intakes here for the cooling of the engine. Obviously with this much power, it needs a lot of cooling. The convertible has a different aero profile. I want to talk a little bit about the luggage space at the back, because this is something you might be wondering with the enormous wing back here, and a double press of the button, you can lift open the rear deck from there, and look at that. The link back to the blue touches and details of the older ZR1s, that's really cool. That is a serious power plant, and back here you can fit a couple of trolley bags, so I'm hoping we can still do a few road trips with this. We're still going to be able to have some fun with it. Then give that a close down, give it a little press, and it soft closes in the last bit. Now I believe if I press lock and then double press this, that's a good cold start sound. I was expecting it to be significantly more muted than that. Of course, you can hear a little bit the turbos and the muted sounds, but that's not bad. Then I believe, double press again to stop it. Right, unlock, because I want to take a seat inside here. They have given me permission here at Hendrick Performance to take a step inside this very early EX car. In fact, just before I do, take a look in here because we've got the competition sport seats. So there are a few different options I need to study and take in. It's got a lot of carbon fiber, like the central console. It's got the squared off steering wheel, as we saw from the first C8 all the way through. We've got digital screens, displays, it's got PDR. There's a ton of different systems and things on this. And of course, the ZR1 badging here is actually full black for the logo on the side, with some slight changes as well to this Y intake as opposed to the Z06. But let me do this carefully. Let me step inside because this is my first time in the ZR1. Okay. I'm quite excited right now. This has been a bit of a secret, but I'm very, very much looking forward to it. Lower the seat down just a moment. Obviously, going to take a bit of time just to feast my eyes over it and take it all in myself. Press the button right here to start it up again. That sounds better than I expected. Obviously all the screens and settings here in front of me. We're going to be learning all of that in future, all of that to come. Carbon here. I like the idea of doing a contrast inside. Obviously here there's the blue stitching to match the stripes and the wheels, but you can have different inserts as well. So for this part, for these stitched areas here on the door as well. There are a ton of different things you can do. There are rumours of an update to the interior coming for the 2026 model year, but I'm quite excited that this is going to be, I think, in 2025, which is bonkers. Oh, what a way to start the Corvette game. What more? Oh, the wing in the rearview mirror. I'm not sure if you can see this. That view to the wing up there. Okay, that's really cool. Oh, this is going to be so good! Something else that I would like to show you. On the key, you have the two buttons for the storage, the one at the rear, as we've shown, but also you can double press this, because normally the C8, the Stingray and the Z06 has additional storage space in the front. There's no secondary latch on this, you just lift it up. But the big difference here is that you have radiators and cooling, so you do not want to play with this. It's like an S-duct that comes through the front of the car. You can't put any luggage in there. It's just fun that you can still open it if you'd like to take a look. Needless to say, I think we'll be all right. I think it's got enough space in it to manage for our trips ahead. Also happening here at Tenths Motor Club, there are some races with Porsche Macan Turbo EVs, the new Macans. But what's interesting about these races is you have pro drivers like Jeff Gordon, multi-NASCAR champions, and amateur drivers who have made a donation to the charity to be able to have the opportunity to drive, and it's a bit of a head-to-head battle. And these things, it's quite funny watching them. They kind of squeal around the track. Obviously you have a wind noise as they're blasting off, but it's very different to the ZR1 sound, put it that way. Anyway, interesting to watch what happens in the cars with turbos that don't have turbos, certainly not like the ZR1's turbos. We'll see them go off. It is the strangest thing. You don't hear them coming, but then off they go. Wowzers, another one straight after. You've got a mix of drivers here. They also have a weird hum and buzz to them as they go. What we need to do next, though, is go to the drawing board with the configurator to build the specification for the future car. It will, of course, be quite the opposite to this. If you know my cars and my collection, I do quite like my bright and bold colours. And luckily, there are a fair few to choose from. So let's do this. Let's say farewell to this car for now and go work on what the spec is going to look like. Here we go then. We've got the configurator, and the first thing I'm going to say is it's not quite the Aston Martin Valhalla experience, but what I do appreciate is how easy this actually is to manage through and to build the spec. And I want to build 3 different cars. I've got 3 different themes in my mind to work from. It starts with choosing the body style, and as I mentioned, I'm really keen to do the coupe with the split rear window as opposed to the convertible. Yes, the idea of the retractable hardtop is always amazing, but you can still take the top off the Targa panel and stow it away in the back with the coupe as well, should you wish. And I really like the look of it. And it's a $10,000 difference. So all things being equal, we're going coupe. Next up is the specification level. So the 1LZ or the 3LZ trim. There's no 2LZ for this. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, given it's $11,000 relative to the price of the car, to add the 3LZ specification. It gives you the Bose sound system, it gives you the GT2 seats as standard, and a number of other bits of technology and things included, which are upgrades I certainly would like to have on the car. It starts, as you see here,
in Hysteria Purple. Now, Hysteria Purple is the colour of the first ZR1 that I had seen at SEMA last year. I think it's going to be a very popular colour, especially when it's the colour that starts on the configurator. And this is our otherwise fairly base specification, but I also really like it. I think out of the show, it will look amazing. So we're going to be building a Hysteria Purple specification here against this very nice list of bright and bold colours we're going to come back to. You can order a dual roof, should you prefer, and then you get to the wheels. And against purple, I'm going to keep it silver. You guys know I like my silver wheels. There are a few different options, which we'll come to on some of the other configurations, and there are also the carbon fiber wheels. Now, I'm not the biggest of fans of the carbon wheels because it's very easy to curb one, break one, do some damage to one, and most crucially at the moment, it's also a hold on the order. So if you go for carbon wheels, you do have to wait a little bit longer. So we're going to be keeping these configurations with the standard wheel, which I think looks cool, and we're going to keep it in silver on here, although it's reverted. We want to go back to Hysteria Purple. The next thing, the tyres on those wheels, you can opt to have Cup 2Rs, which will add the ZTK Attack or Track Performance package, which, as you guys know, I like my carbon fibre, I like big wings, we're going ZTK, the carbon fibre aero package. We will click confirm and get those added. Before we have brake calipers, and the standard calipers are kind of grey, as you can see, but there are also blue, bronze, two different shades of red, yellow and orange. And I like an accent colour. And this might be a little bit controversial, but we are going to go on purple, yellow. We're going to add the yellow brake calipers. I think that looks awesome. Now, there are lots of different stripe options, including full body competition yellow stripes. It's a bit much, isn't it? It's a little bit much, but what you can do is go for them in carbon flash with the yellow pinstripe detail. And I love that kind of pinstripe. I've got very similar on the GT500 that we added ourselves, and it gives just the right amounts of balance and contrast on this particular car. If we move to the interior though, because we've got two colours on the outside, if you were to add a third colour, like a red or something, it would be too much. So we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is go with the jet black with perforated suede microfiber inserts, kind of like Alcantara for the central part of the seat, but keep it all black, and we'll get to another option for this in just a moment. Keep scrolling down though, because I would like to add the Competition Sport bucket seat. Having looked at all of these seats before, in fact, they're the same seats that were the original C8 Stingray launch. I like the Competition Sport. It adds a little bit more side bolstering to the base. Otherwise, it's basically the same seat, and that suits really well. Of course, with that yellow flash outside, we're going to add the yellow seat belts inside for this configuration, replacing the black ones that were there before. And then we actually move to the other interior options. There are a few things here, but they're really easy to navigate through. So we've got the ZTK Track Performance package, we've got the ZR1 Carbon Fiber Aero package. I am going to be adding this, the body color carbon fiber split rear window trim, because I think it's awesome and it's a nod to history, and I like that a lot. We can then also add the Corvette museum delivery. Sounds fun to me to head down there. Another thing that I know is a little bit of a restriction, but we'll get to that. I would like to add the carbon fiber exterior mirrors. Again, always like that contrast. You can see a few other things that you can select and choose, but one of the big ones is this, the carbon fiber interior package. Level 2 of the interior package does your central console trim, the instrument panel, and the door panel inserts. It might be $4,995, but we are going to add that. We're also going to add the stealth interior trim package for $595, which makes all the silver elements a little bit darker inside. I like that. And as I mentioned, we're going to add yellow custom leather stitching to match those seat belts, the pinstripes, and the brake calipers. Now, I would add the personalized interior plaque, but if you're doing the museum delivery, you actually get the personalized plaque included with that. We're going to add the visible carbon fiber sill plates, genuine Corvette accessory, and there are a few other things here, like a roof bag and that kind of stuff. But the other important one is this, the front lift with memory. It can remember a whole load of places that you've lifted it before and reuse those. You can add black exhaust tips, but if I'm going silver wheels, I quite like the standard silver exhaust tips, so I'm okay with that. And there are a few other cool things like the engine brace and the rear hatch strut. You can add the battery protection package as well, should you wish. But ultimately speaking, we can now go to the summary and load it up. Just takes a second or so to get this full screen. And we have, wait for it, the first of these specs in Hysteria Purple, and that looks really cool. That looks really cool. And what you can do with this actually is scroll through a couple of different, obviously fixed position renders, see how it looks, or even click top down to take off the Targa roof panel and see exactly what the same spec looks like, which is nice to see what it looks like into the interior when there's no roof on top. Kind of as you would see it. You can see the carbon fiber of the central console right there, and of course through some of the other angles that we've seen along the way. So Spec 1, I am very happy with there, but we're going to go back, keep the options mostly the same, change up the colours, because for Spec 2, I'm going to go in contradiction to something that I normally say. I normally don't like launch specs, but I particularly like the competition yellow tint coat metallic. It's removed the yellow pinstripe on the stripes, unsurprisingly, by changing to this, because I think there's always something about a bright yellow supercar. There's this connection, as Frank Stephenson said when he came to visit the Shmeemuseum, with caution signs and wasps and bees and angry aggressive things. It just looks shouty and super cool. If we scroll down though, normally on a yellow car, people would say, go with black wheels. Normally. The carbon flash painted forged aluminium wheels. And I hear you. I'm just not a fan of black wheels, I'm sorry to say. We would find a happy medium and go with the bright machined finish over the top. So we have a bit of dark grey, a bit of the bright finish to match with it. I think that will suit it much better. Where I'm going to be a little bit controversial though, is brake calipers. Yellow could work, you could certainly do that, but what I would like to do with this is like the GT500, the red detailing. We're going to go edge red for the brake calipers, and a little bit more than that. The car has red elements on it, right? The Corvette badge, it has the brake, the tail lights, it has red detailing around it. If we go to the stripes, similarly, we could do the full edge red stripe, but I think that's going to be too much. I do like stripes. I mean, my Ford GT has racing stripes, but I think that's overkill again. So what we will do here is go with a little red accent pinstripe, which I think is the perfect balance for the exterior of this, with mostly in the carbon flash black, just with that red edging detailing to it. So I think that creates a car that, if I can say so myself, looks really mean. That's very cool. The thing with it, and while we could keep the same interior, we could keep it black with the yellow stitching, the thing with it is that I would actually quite like a throwback to my Emira. That was yellow over a dual tone black and grey interior, and they actually offer something that works perfectly in this configuration, the Sky Cool Grey, which gives you the lower parts of the dash and the door inserts and the grey stitching around the interior, which I think actually works in this combination very well, and you can have it with the competition sport bucket seats. The adrenaline red interior that you can do, I'm just going to say now, it's a very bright red, probably too much for this specification, might be a little bit overkill for the car. We've got seatbelt options. I think on here I would probably keep them black because I don't want to introduce any more colours. I think there's no real yellow inside, so that might be too much again. But when it comes to options, we're going to keep it the same. We're going to keep that split rear window trim, keep everything else I think that we've got selected on this one, and jump to the summary to take a look at exactly how this car turns out. Because, like I say, it's launch paint colour, but by adding some personalized details and the different trims, that looks really cool. Like, that looks really cool. I'm just going to scroll through some pictures because, yeah, I quite like. What can I say? But we're going to go with the third, or take a look at the third. And I'm going to be controversial here. I apologize. There's a color I quite like that they offer. And don't get me wrong, I like the blues, but I'm not going to go blue with this. The color is from the previous generation. It is the Sebring Orange tint coat. This was the launch color of the previous C7 ZR1, and I always thought it looked amazing. I'm not normally the biggest fan of orange cars. Normally they aren't my first choice. Definitely not a fan with red accents. Orange and red should not be together, but there are solutions to this. My controversial thing that I'm going to get to, one second, let's go firstly to the calipers, because I'm going to turn off the red calipers. We're not going to have those. And let's go to the stripe. What I'm going to do here is the inverse of my GT8, which is blue with orange accents. We're going to go orange with blue accents. Firstly, the full edge blue whole stripe, I'm sure is going to be too much for this. Actually, it's not too bad, but what we're going to do is we're going to do the blue pinstripe. And what I'm also going to do, wait for it, is the fact that they offer, as we've seen on the car, these blue wheels. We're going to be adding the blue, edge blue painted forged aluminium wheels to this. Yeah, I know what you're saying already, but I like controversial. I think it's, I mean, a supercar is controversial and arguably pointless to begin with. That is a mad machine. So for the interior, I think oh, you know what we could do for the interior? They offer this new habanero interior, which is very bright orange. Shall we just select this for a moment and see how it looks? It's very bright. Oh, goodness me. I think it's a slightly different orange to the exterior as well. So probably we're not going to do that. Probably if we're being this controversial outside with the orange with blue, we would go with a black interior, add some blue, stitch back to it. And maybe the blue seatbelts. We could do I think a slightly different blue though. Maybe we'll try it for the moment, see how that turns out before we get the final view of this controversial specification. So we go to options, we go to stitching, blue custom leather stitching. I've got a little bit quicker at this now, I know what I'm doing. And go to summary, load it full screen. Should we take a look then at option number 3 in Sebring orange? Wait for it. Cool, blimey, that's out there, isn't it? I like the blue details, the 12 o'clock stripe, the seat belt, obviously kind of matching with that pinstripe. There are some options to explore here. We started with the Hysteria purple configuration, which I think looks amazing with the yellow accents. Then we've gone with the competition yellow with the edge red accents. And lastly, we've gone with Sebring orange with the edge blue accents. And these are just ideas at this stage. We can still explore, evolve from them, change them a little bit. Let me know what you think between those 3 choices, or what you would change, or would you choose something completely different for the ZR1.
There we have it then. In due course, I will confirm the final specification, but from delivery, which I believe should be later this year, I can't quite believe that, it will then go like the Mustang Dark Horse to a Ceramic Pro Elite dealer for paint protection film to be installed, protect the paint choice that we go for. Then of course, the miles are gonna begin. Road trips, adventures, you know this channel. I believe these cars are for driving, and I can't wait for some track days, perhaps even here at some point at Tenths Motor Club, to enjoy the ZR1 in all of its glory. I am very much looking forward to this one. Thank you very much for your support. Make sure to be subscribed for plenty of the adventures to come. And if you like videos like this, check out the one right over there. That's it for this time though. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.